Throughout the world of hip-hop, there have been multiple artists who were really about the life that they portrayed in their songs, allowing many to gravitate towards their music as some found it relatable and enjoyable, leading to those rappers to develop a strong career by breaking into the mainstream. Nevertheless, there have been many artists who depicted themselves as fake gangsters to try to fit in with the real street rappers, in which they attempted this just so they could earn clout, money, as well as building up a stable career. This concept can be seen when an artist doesn't admit their true self to the world and keeps putting forth a fake image. Due to this, many of these false tough rappers eventually fade away from the spotlight. So join me today as we delve into some fake gangsters' careers and uncover how they're doing within the modern day. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And before we get right into things, this video is heavily inspired by Matty Ball's and Rishav's video, so links to both of those videos will be down in the description below. Lil Mabu is a New York drill artist who blew up back in 2022 to early 2023 through his viral hits No Snitching and Mathematical Disrespect. By these hit songs, he quickly amassed a huge following, causing him to become a notable rapper within the New York drill scene, allowing Mabu to get recognized by other New York drill rappers such as Didi Osama, K Flock, and Fabio Foreign. But unlike the drill artists that I just mentioned, Mabu was severely different to them, since the New York drill scene is mainly known for violent gangster rap, as the artists within the scene actually live the life they are rapping about. Now for Mabu, this wasn't the case, as he was only merely portraying an image by rapping that he was about that life, even though Mabu is an innocent rich white kid who came from a good family. He wasn't actually someone who needed to make it out in order to survive. So how did Mabu fabricate his image so well, and how is he doing in the modern day? To best answer these questions, it's best to look at the very beginning of Mabu's career. A young Matthew DeLuca, or better known as Lil Mabu, grew up with his parents in their 5-bed, 5-bath, 3,327 foot condo on the Upper East Side in New York City. His father, Peter DeLuca, was a funeral director who earned millions from a divorce settlement with his ex-wife, which explains how his family has so much money. With the money they have, Mabu would be enrolled in the #1 private school in New York, which is called Collegiate School. So by now, it's apparent that Mabu lived a privileged life, as his family was fortunate enough to provide him with the utmost prestigious education, which ironically was the complete opposite on what drill rap is truly about. Nonetheless, Mabu always had a business mindset and decided to found a marketing company at 15 years old, since at an early age he noticed how powerful the internet could be when promoting your music, especially with TikTok, as Mabu kept a keen eye when a new song would blow up on that platform, influencing him to use his marketing strategy for music on TikTok. After starting up his company, Mabu swiftly gained attention from popular artists and started to network with them. This led Mabu into developing the careers of such artists as 42 Dugg and Lil Keed. He would boost these artists' careers by manufacturing memes as well as short form videos and uploading them to the internet, causing them to be spread like wildfire, eventually reaching a vast audience. To which, within these marketing schemes, Mabu would actually gain massive success. However, Mabu had other endeavors that he wanted to explore, since he wanted to pursue his own passion of making music. See, once he got to high school, Mabu began developing songs to which he'd preview on TikTok, which is probably how he got so much knowledge of the platform. But when he began his marketing company, he stopped creating music and turned his focus on building up his business, until one day he felt as if he didn't want to leave his passion behind and started once more on his music journey. This time by uploading full tracks on his SoundCloud. So songs like Glue, Up Next, and Taking Over all got uploaded during the summer of 2019. From here, he kept dropping and improving with each drop. The songs he was making during this moment in time were similar to the emo rap phase back in the 2016 to 2017 SoundCloud era, And although the songs he was developing were decent, that type of sound was slowly coming to a close towards the end of 2020. So he needed a new genre to tap into to fully boost his career. This is when he began to notice how hot the New York drill scene was, as many artists start to blow up around this time. So, as a white kid trying to develop music, and knowing that the drill scene consists of mainly people who are real gangsters, it only made sense for him to tap into that genre of music. To which he did, and a genius marketing strategy immediately started brewing in his head. So then he started to make drill songs and dropped his first ever drill track called Move It on January 22nd, 2021. The single would gain a good amount of attention as it received over 100,000 views on YouTube just days after its initial release. But Mabu wanted more out of his newly found rap career. After all, he knew in order for him to reach mainstream success, he needed to find a way to promote his music to a wider audience. Luckily for him, he already had the knowledge of marketing rap music, so why not utilize all the stuff he already knows about music marketing for his own singles, which is why he began his strategy just a couple months later with his single titled Demon Time. For this track, Mabu decided to create a music video depicting himself within the streets of New York, surrounded by all his goons. This would fully contribute to his new drill rapper persona, as it aligns with the typical attire, setting, and vibe that many other New York drill artists convey within their music videos. Now, this strategy of obviously being a fake gangster actually began to work for Mabu as people started to gravitate towards his persona, with some people saying, "Making out the mansion," and "Getting us all out of the country club with this one." Not only were people messing with his persona, they also genuinely started to like his music, as fans began saying comments like, "Mabu's underrated low-key. He's actually good on this drill stuff. Good luck to him in the game, I hope he makes it." People be saying he's a white boy that can't rap, but this go hard. This song is legit fire. So obviously, at this point, it's clear that Mabu has started to create a fanbase of his own. And with the success of the strategy he used for Demon Time, it only made sense for him to do it again with his next single. To which he did, with his next song called King of the World, having many lay their eyes upon Mabu as he was once again acting tough and being surrounded by his clique when watching the music video. This video would blow up just like Demon Time, with it acquiring over 2 million views on YouTube. But Mabu wasn't done here, since he knew that eventually his strategy of hiring people to pretend like they were his goons whilst being in the streets of New York would only work for so long. He needed something new to catch the eyes of many, so he decided to use TikTok to promote his own music. Since he was already familiar with the algorithm and how it works, it seemed like a clear path to success. And it was, as he started to gain traction all over the platform. He would promote his music by acknowledging that he's a white rapper merely trying to portray an image of a gangster in order to troll his haters.
Today we're showing strangers my music, part 1. Let's go. I'm here with...
No camera, deportation. My name is Luis.
I can never snitch.
This you, mother?
Yeah.
You sound very black. What's the name? What's it called?
I called it No Snitching.
A day in the life of a high school drill rapper. We pulled up to a local white room in New York. Then we linked up with the boys back in Soho. Too sturdy. Gotta be home by 9 o'clock to do my homework.
This formula of TikToks worked and was gaining millions of views and exposed Mabu's name even more. Nevertheless, this wasn't enough for Mabu, as he really needed to perform a severe stunt to really push his name out there. This is when he came up with the bright idea to start being seen or collaborating with other popular drill rappers. By doing this, Mabu's name would start to be talked about, as fans of these artists that he's linking up with would begin to question who this white kid is and why they are hanging out with their favorite artist, overall boosting his career even more by Mabu's name getting exposed to a lot of people. The first drill artist he started to collab with was notorious rapper K-Flock, who is currently in jail for murder charges and federal racketeering. So compared to Mabu, he's actually about that life. On top of this, K-Flock was an already notable name within the drill scene at this point in time. So seeing that he's a highly recognized artist Mabu saw the gateway into the mainstream, which is why he paid K-Flock to let him be seen with him in the studio. During their studio session, Mabu would be depicted trying to act like he is about it and appear to be an actual gangster, causing many K-Flock fans to wonder who he is and discover his music. From here, a couple of weeks would pass by and K-Flock would be arrested for severe charges, allowing Mabu to need new antics so his career could keep reaching new heights. But this is when many fans began to believe that Mabu would be taking things a bit too far, as just a week following K-Flock's arrest, Mabu would be seen linking up with one of K-Flock's biggest ops named D-Thang, fully putting himself within real New York drill street beef. Now, this was severely concerning as people knew that Mabu was only putting on a persona when acting gangster, so seeing him getting involved with real issues with people only had people confused and worried. Regardless of this, Mabu still previewed a song with K-Flock's Enemy, causing many to turn on Mabu. After all, Mabu was just seen with K-Flock, so many of his fans are slowly intertwining with Mabu's fanbase. Then those same fans saw Mabu linking up and previewing a song with D-Thang. It would only lead them to start to hate Mabu. In an attempt to fix the scenario, Mabu would claim that D-Thang ruined the track. D-Thang would eventually get arrested sometime after Mabu's claims for pretty severe charges. Following this, a few months were passed and everyone seemed to forget about the whole altercation. However, one thing that Mabu did become aware of from the situation is that he could easily gain attention online. So he needed another artist he could tap into in order to regain the attention he was getting. This is when he decided to collaborate with fellow drill rapper Shaw EK on the track Everyone K, which was a diss track towards one of Shaw EK's ops named Yus G, once again inserting himself in yet another street beef. However, this time fans weren't concerned, as Mabu himself didn't seem worried about entering this beef, as he threw shots at Yus G within the diss by saying things like, "I said beat it, kick him out the state. Imagine being a joke, but it's not even funny. You just broke in the hood, so you better get comfy." By these lyrics, it became pretty apparent that Mabu wasn't scared of the situation, as he knew he would gain the protection from real gangsters by siding with Shaw EK. Nevertheless, nothing serious came out of the situation and Mabu kept growing his career, since at this moment in time, he knew that he could easily grow his career by hanging out with drill artists. And with all the connections he was getting, if he were ever to actually get into issues, people would be right by his side. Shortly after his single with Shaw EK, he'd utilized that traction and dropped his debut project, Double M, which, I might add, has a cover art of Mabu being split into two halves to show his two different lives, him as a rich kid living a normal life, and the other showing his gangster persona. This project would contain 7 songs and feature numerous drill rappers such as Shaw EK, Dusty Lil Kane, Dougie B, Raw Swish, and D-Thang. The track, No Snitching, featuring Dusty Lil Kane, would go on to become the biggest out of the project, with it amassing over 138 million streams. Due to the popularity of the song, it was only right for Mabu to develop a music video for it. Within the music video, Mabu decided to make fun of himself being a fake gangster, as he's rapping about toting weapons and that he would never snitch whilst appearing as a normal emaciated guy. This got people talking, as they found it comedic that this regular white kid was trying to act tough within his raps, overall adding an additional boost to the track by having the music video receive over 24.7 million views due to the viral nature it had. From here, Mabu has cemented himself within the New York drill scene as he became a well-known artist, since many were gravitating towards him being a fake gangster and that his gimmick as an artist was truly working, fully revealing that Mabu's plan to become an artist has ultimately succeeded. But the thing is, this plan revolved around him being a gimmick, and gimmicks are notoriously known for only lasting a short period of time within rap. So for his next track, he needed to switch things up while also collaborating with other drill artists. He decided to get a popular New York rapper, Didi Osama within the picture and collaborated with him on their song, Throw. Throw would also receive a music video and showed a different side of Mabu, as he wasn't rapping all tough on the song, as he was rapping more melodically while Didi was doing the harsher verses. The two sides of the track completed each other, and it caused the song to be loved amongst the fans, by it racking up over 50 million streams on Spotify. Due to the success of the song, it caught the attention of Chicago rapper Lil Durk, in which he allowed Mabu and Didi Osama to open for him during one of his concerts, truly pinpointing Mabu's tactics to blow up to be working extremely well. He swiftly went from a kid working on a marketing company to a well-known rapper overnight. However, the story doesn't stop here, since the majority of these events transpired over the year of 2022. The next year, 2023, Lil Mabu would see an increased amount of success compared to the previous year. It all starts with the beginning of 2023, where Mabu dropped his most popular track to date, Mathematical Disrespect. On May 4th, 2023, it dropped alongside a live performance video, which was a popular trend around this time. This was extremely smart by Mabu, since the aid of the trend could possibly lead to an increased amount of exposure, which in this case it did, because Mathematical Disrespect blew up overnight. The track gained over 66 million views on YouTube and amassed over 174 million streams on Spotify. This song instantly went viral, with it appearing all over TikTok. Now, Mabu is the one having people use his song for short form videos after studying how the platform can change an artist's life overnight. The song's accomplishments doesn't stop here, since it provided him with his first Billboard placement due to it peaking at the 47th spot. Mabu would continue his rise to fame with his next track, Rich Scholar. Moments leading up to the single's release, Mabu would begin to promote the song on Instagram Live by telling the world he supposedly got kicked out of his school due to people claiming he's a danger to the establishment as well as a distraction to students.
They tried to have me expelled for being a danger to the school, a distraction from educational prowess, and a nefarious societal influence. One mother said I single-handedly ruined my school's esteemed Math Olympiad, Greek, and Latin curriculum.
Clearly, knowing what we know about Mabu and his marketing schemes, this entire story was fake. It only was developed for a promotion of his new single, to which it worked, as most fans bought into the story and immediately went to the music video for Rich Scholar when it dropped, allowing the song to go viral once more, gaining millions of streams on Spotify and views on YouTube. So by now, it became evident that through all the stunts and schemes, Mabu's plan to enter the mainstream has fully come into fruition, as he kept going viral, earned Billboard placements, became widely known, and gained a loyal fan base. So it only makes sense for him to keep pushing and drop consistently. But for some odd reason, this wasn't the case, as Mabu seemingly disappeared from the internet and stopped dropping. So why was this the case, since Mabu was just accomplishing so much with his career? Well, you see, an article from the New York Post surfaced exposing to the world that Lil Mabu has been faking his image for clout this entire time. The article would go on to explain that he comes from a rich family that owns 2 homes, and that Mabu attended an expensive private school. Around the same time of the article, it was also being heavily rumored that Mabu's dad was a big executive at a record label, potentially explaining how Mabu was able to get all those connections to popular artists. Although Mabu's fake image antics seemed pretty obvious to some, the majority of people were utterly shocked by his lies, ultimately causing a public outcry on Mabu, leading to many fans to turn on him. Now, Mabu needed to do something in order to combat the expose that was done on him, so he took to his Instagram and his YouTube to explain his further endeavors.
You know, over the summer, I've gotten some crazy offers and deals I could have entered into, but I told them, guess what? I'm going to college. And they looked at me like I was crazy, bro. I was like, you, watch this. And I worked so hard to get into the high school I was at, then applying out and getting into college, and I managed to do all of it while doing the music thing. So why would I pass this opportunity up now? For what?
He then went on to claim that his dad isn't some huge executive at a record label.
You know I don't address nothing, but my father is not in the music business.
So basically, Mabu decided to go to Emory University instead of pressing the gas on his rap career, which is pretty respectable since he wants to pursue his education alongside his career. On top of this, he also denied his father having industry connections and that all the connections he ever made up to this point has only been by him. But as we all know, Mabu wouldn't announce all of this if it wasn't marketing for another single, to which it was, and his next track, called At What Cost, dropped shortly after Mabu announced all of this. At What Cost was more of a mellow track from Mabu as he declares the morality of what he did in order to achieve a successful career. Nevertheless, this track didn't perform too well as it only received a couple million views, which isn't a lot compared to the tens of millions he was receiving earlier. So Mabu realized he needed to perform an insane stunt to regain the popularity he once had. This is when Mabu decided to collab with someone that no one ever expected. See, leading up to his next single, Mabu would frequently be seen with Blueface's ex-girlfriend, Krishan Rock. Now, as we saw in the past, Mabu would involve himself in beef to help promote his name, and around this time, Blueface recently broke up with Krishan after she gave birth to their son. Upon seeing this transpire, Mabu quickly saw a genius move he could make if he started working with her. And if you know anything about Krishan's and Blueface's relationship, it's always on and off as they always get into altercations amongst one another. This is something that Mabu knew and could take advantage of by working with her since she was always trending on the internet. So the two went to the studio to develop a hit track called Mr. Take Your B. This track was mainly about Mabu flexing the fact that he took Krishan away from Blueface. Due to the meaning behind the track, it immediately blew up, with the music video acquiring over 50 million views. It also became extremely popular on TikTok by having the song being used by many. So now Mabu is back on track with the spotlight being shined on him once again. Nonetheless, Krishan wasn't too happy about the situation, as she took to Instagram Live to reveal that she messed with Mabu but felt uncomfortable on the things he wanted her to do within the music video.
I fucked with bro, but I seen his vision. I'm like, all right, let's go. But it was like, okay, hold up. I don't know who got it, but the whole time, every time he would like do too much, I'd be like, back up, or
you know why you did that track? You know why you wrote it for? Okay, boom.
Clearly, Mabu's only intention in befriending Krishan was to use her for clout and boost his name back into the mainstream. Oh, and if you're curious on what Blueface felt about all this, he didn't really care and pretty much paid no mind to it. Anyways, returning back to Mabu's story, he then went on to drop two more singles, which were Teach Me How to Drill featuring 5Yo Foreign and Big Dog Stuff featuring Lil RT. Both of these tracks went ultra viral as they received over 20 million views as well as 10 million streams. In fact, Teach Me How to Drill blew up on TikTok as well. From here, Mabu then went on to announce his debut album, Young Genius, which dropped on April 5th, 2024. The album didn't perform the best as most of the tracks that had a lot of plays contained features and the solo tracks mainly had 500 to 700,000 streams. The biggest solo track to come from the album was Oppie Day, which received over 2.6 million streams on Spotify and over 3 million views on YouTube. Afterwards, he then dropped another single with NBA Youngboy called Engine, which also didn't pull the best numbers. So it started to become apparent that Lil Mabu's perfect rap career that he set up for himself has started to head on a decline since people stopped gravitating towards his gangster persona. Which brings us to the modern day, as the most recent marketing stunt Lil Mabu did was him dropping a song titled Bang Bang, which was a diss on XXL since they didn't add him to the XXL freshman class. This diss did spark up his career once more, as the music video is currently sitting around 10 million views. Now, within the present day, Lil Mabu is still enrolled in college while attempting to juggle his normal life and his rap career. It's obvious that he rode the hype of New York drill rap and directly portrayed himself as a tough gangster, even though he was just an ordinary kid who wanted to make it big within hip-hop. Not only this, he grew his career by utilizing the fans of many drill artists. Although those same artists knew this concept, they couldn't say no to Mabu as he was paying them tons of money just so he could be in the same room as them. Unfortunately, biting street culture could only last you so long, and Mabu's career is slowly declining. Now he's striving to remain relevant within the game, and him not dropping as much as he used to isn't really helping. So only time will tell on what's in store for Lil Mabu's career. Rick Ross is a rapper whose career has been met with tremendous amount of success as he's been nominated for multiple Grammys, has earned plenty of #1 album placements on the Billboard 200, and received numerous RIAA Platinum records. So it's pretty evident that Rick Ross is a notable artist within the game. But this is not only through his music, as he always seems to put himself forth in the spotlight. Whether it's through his viral clips or him beefing with top rappers like Drake, Ross always seems to find a way to get the public to talk about him. Regardless of his notoriety, many don't know that Rick Ross's career has been built up by lies, as throughout his tracks, he claims to have lived a hard life in which he had to act tough to survive. For example, in his track Street Life, he says, "Up early in the morning, got gold in my eye, got a 4-5 that'll leave a hole in the sky, sitting at this table while I take a soul for a guy, music and the street life, that's a whole nother side." Even though he's claiming to have it on him since he's living the street life, these statements would be false as he was merely trying to portray himself as a gangster. So how long has he been putting up this image for, and does he still try to do it within the modern day? Well, before we answer these exact questions, let's dive into how Ross even got to this position in the first place. William Leonard Roberts II, or also known as Rick Ross, was born on January 28, 1976 in Clarksdale, Mississippi. However, sometime after he was born, Ross and his family moved to Carol City in Miami, Florida. Carol City was a lot larger than Clarksdale, with it having about 60,000 residents. Due to the larger population, Ross was promoted violence, crime, and poverty as it was visibly seen around where he lived. These topics would be something Ross would discuss throughout his music later down the line. Ross would also grow up watching the show Miami Vice, which added to the influence of his gangster persona. Although he was being inspired by the environment that surrounded him, Ross decided to still remain on a straightforward path. Rather than earning his money from performing illegal stunts like many others around him did, he would gain it by washing people's cars for about $30 per day, which is the complete opposite of how he'd say he used to earn his money within his music. While working at the car wash, he would come in contact with very expensive cars that millionaires owned. This would inspire Ross to want to become rich and be able to own those same cars. However, before he went down the path to earn millions, he first went to college. Now, it was at this point where it's clear that Ross has been lying about what he raps about, since he decided to further pursue his education, which is commendable, but as a rapper, it doesn't create the best image when you've been saying that you lived that street life. So, Ross attended Albany State University through a football scholarship that he earned. Ironically, Rick Ross continued to shock the world as he was majoring in criminal justice, possibly due to the world that was surrounding him while he was growing up. Even though he dropped out after 1 year, this wouldn't be a great look for Ross, since he was living a regular life before the fame. On top of this, what he did after dropping out of college would only add on to the fakeness behind his name, as he went on to become a corrections officer at the South Florida Reception Center in Dade County for a total of 18 months, further disintegrating the credibility that Ross had of being a real gangster. This also wouldn't be an easy job, as Ross had to enroll in a Department of Correction Training Academy and take a training course that would be over 540 hours long. This is about 20 days of training to be a corrections officer, so evidently he seemed pretty interested in the job. But with all this past behind him, It wouldn't be long until fans discovered that Ross really wasn't some big tough guy, as an article by The Smoking Gun would eventually surface on July 21st, 2008, exposing Ross for working at a prison when he was 19. Multiple pictures would also come out of him in uniform while being in the establishment. Around the time the article came out, Rick Ross was already a well-known artist since his projects Trilla and Teflon Don both went #1 on the Billboard 200, overall putting Rick Ross's name on the map within the mainstream. So when this article came out, it fully shocked the public, since in those albums, Ross was claiming that he was trafficking snow and struggled to survive at a young age. Clearly, this wasn't the case, and Ross had been lying to his fans ever since he appeared within the scene. Due to this scandal, it caused many interviewers to ask Rick Ross if he was actually a correctional officer before the fame, to which he kept denying the allegations as if they weren't true. In fact, in one of the interviews, Rick Ross went on to say it's disappointing to hear people claim that he used to work within a prison.
Recently accused you of working as a prison guard at one point, Rick. Is there any truth to that?
No, that's not true. But that's disappointing to hear that he said that. He said that?
That's what the question said, yeah.
That's crazy.
Funnily enough, Rick Ross would eventually publicize that he was in fact a correctional officer, even though he's been denying the claims for several years.
So we all did a lot of different things to put us all in position. In position, right. And it's not the obvious. So if Rick Ross did work at one of these places, it wasn't for the obvious reason. Right. You know, it's a lot of gold mines around people's faces that people really don't know how to take advantage of. So yeah, me and, we did what we do. You know what I mean?
So basically, according to Rick Ross himself, the only reason why he wanted the job was so he could easily connect with other individuals within the dealing scene, as well as to get a better grasp on how that world works. Now, this was a clear fabricated story, as we discussed earlier how most of his life he had a straightforward path. Not to mention, within the clip, Ross is depicted trying to dodge the question when all he's claiming is that he became a corrections officer just for the connections. Alongside this, Ross's major in college was criminal justice. So him actually attempting to get a job just so he can tap into criminal activities is highly unlikely. Regardless of the matter, Rick Ross did ultimately come to terms with the truth and publicly declared the whole thing during an interview.
Were you a correctional officer at one point?
I was, yeah.
So going all the way back, when was that? How long ago?
Maybe when I was 20.
Following him being a corrections officer, Ross then decided to switch gears and be a construction worker so he would have more time working on his passion of making music. You see, Rick Ross always wanted to be an artist, and he needed the time to put in the work to achieve that dream. So by being a construction worker, he would be able to work on his craft on the side. So by the year 2000, Ross started his rap career under the name Teflon Don. Ross most likely chose this as his stage name, as it was the name of another crime lord named John Gotti, who was the mob boss of the Gambino crime family in New York. Teflon Don could have also referred to Vito Rizzuto, who was an Italian-Canadian crime lord of the Rizzuto family in Montreal. However, Ross originated in the United States, and Gotti's reign was leading New York during this time, so it was very likely he was referring to him. The main reason behind him adopting a name with this type of stature is so he could appear to be a big leader within a crime family. Nevertheless, after growing his career by gaining a loyal fan base and developing a strong network with other artists, Teflon would eventually change his name to Rick Ross just a few years into his career. Funnily enough, the reason behind his name change would be similar to how he came up with his original name, as the name Rick Ross isn't something that Ross came up with himself. He got the name from the infamous former lord in LA named Freeway Rick Ross. His empire was so notoriously known that according to Freeway, it made him up to $1 million a day, to which in modern times, that is about $5 million. However, due to this, it eventually led him to life in prison, but he was eventually freed early in 2009 due to a successful appeal. Once Freeway was released from jail, he immediately noticed that Ross took his name and used it for his advantage. This caused Freeway to actually sue Ross, since he basically stole his name and capitalized on it as much as he could. Many people were actually upset at Rick Ross for this stunt, as he once again lied to his fans about his image, since he basically saw a crime boss in jail, took his name, and used it for his own. Nevertheless, the public and Freeway's outcry for Ross's shady tactics didn't influence the court to side with them, as the court favored Rick Ross and ended the case due to a First Amendment ruling. Interestingly enough, Freeway would actually reveal in recent times that he's the one that allegedly owes Rick Ross $1 million. Amusingly, this was Rick Ross's first and biggest situation with the law, as he did have minor interactions with illegal activities, but they weren't dealt with anything big besides a few minor charges. So basically, to quickly summarize Ross's antics, he first broke into the rap scene through the name of Teflon Don, which is most likely a reference to a crime lord based in New York. Then he decided to switch his name to Rick Ross due to a drug lord in LA getting life in prison. Although he stole someone's name, he managed to escape a lawsuit that the original owner of the name pursued. What's interesting about all these antics is that it happened shortly after Ross chased after his dream of being a top artist. These issues wouldn't arise if he stayed true to himself and focused on his craft rather than his image. Instead, he wanted to portray himself as a mob boss within the game, which is most likely why throughout many of his tracks, he refers to himself as the boss. Within the modern day, Rick Ross isn't much talked about, as his time ruling over the rap game slowly came to an end, as most of his songs past 2012 charted on Billboard due to him either having a feature on one of his songs or him hopping on someone else's track. More recently, Ross gained a little bit of relevance after inserting himself in the Drake vs. Kendrick beef that transpired earlier this year, since he put out a diss track and multiple Instagram stories dissing Drake to fully pledge his allegiance with Kendrick. Nowadays, Rick Ross isn't talked about much, as his fake gangster persona caused many to not take him seriously, and contributing to the fact that he pushes himself in the spotlight, people swiftly started taking Rick Ross as a joke. This could easily be seen within the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef, as Rick Ross kept dissing Drake and people started to care less about what he had to say. As one person said, somebody said Ross is like an ad in between each diss, fully depicting how Ross's strategy of faking his image caused many to care for him less and less as time went on. As for his music, he doesn't pull the best numbers, as his latest single, Rich Life, only gathered 300,000 streams on Spotify. And looking through his discography over the last couple of years, the only songs to see a good amount of traction would be ones with features, further depicting that Ross's career has been on the decline. Even though he isn't receiving the best numbers, he is still earning money from his popular tracks from when he blew up. So, at this point, music has become more of a fun pastime for the rapper. Despite people finding out that he's been faking his toughness, throughout his tracks, he still continues to act like he's about it within his songs in the modern day. As in his diss track towards Drake, he claims that he's going to steal his chain, asking Drake if he's ready to sleep, and telling Drake that he should have it on him when he's around him. To finally close off this portion of the video, Rick Ross has tried to convince the world that he's a real gangster. Nonetheless, time and time again, he always fails as his fans slowly begin to discover the truth behind his past, allowing many to slowly not take him seriously, as Ross clearly only wants to portray himself as a tough artist in order to earn clout and money, which leads into the modern day where Ross isn't talked about as much anymore. Hopefully one day he locks in and heads to the studio to make another hit, but who knows, since on Rick Ross's Instagram page he appears to just be enjoying his life. However, unlike Rick Ross, the next fake gangster got into a serious altercation with his clique before revealing that he's not actually who he says he is. Throughout the years 2017 to 2018, New York rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine was running the rap game, as numerous of his songs were being played everywhere. But before 6ix9ine became the global superstar that he was, he first had to discover the sound and image that many were gravitating towards. Since, just like the rappers I mentioned before, the image 6ix9ine was portraying was of course not his. It all started when 6ix9ine met Zilla Kami and Sauce Moolah, who many of you may know make up the popular group Morgue City. 6ix9ine, Zilla Kami, and Sauce Moolah were all fairly close as they all met each other through family. The three all had the same passion to create music, so it only made sense for them to start working together. This is when Zilla Kami began ghostwriting for 6ix9ine, since 6ix9ine didn't have any experience in the streets. See, Zilla Kami and Sauce Moolah both came from the hood and rapped about their experiences. In fact, Sauce Moolah would even be affiliated with the Blood Gang, leading 6ix9ine to want to portray the same image since he was being seen around them. So he would utilize the two of them to aid in the creation of the image that we recognize today, meaning that he swiftly went from wearing ordinary clothing and having regular hair to dyeing his hair, wearing rainbow grills, and clothing that would fit the street attire. On top of this, before 6ix9ine was introduced to Sauce Moolah, he was rapping on generic beats in a normal tone. After meeting him, he decided to steal his scream sound and started yelling on more harsher toned beats. By now, 6ix9ine has perfectly crafted his street-like image and actually got away with it since he was tight with the two. Then the three started making moves by continuously working together. Unfortunately, the trio's friendship didn't last forever as 6ix9ine got arrested for his not like us behavior. He did claim he wasn't aware of her age, but pleaded guilty regardless. This is because he would be able to escape from being registered as a sex offender. So then, 6ix9ine had to stay in jail for the next few months, until Zilla and Sauce came to bail him out. However, due to the severity of the allegations that were under 6ix9ine, as well as the fact that he got caught stealing their possessions, Zilla Kami and Sauce Moolah slowly start to part ways with the rapper. Zilla Kami and Sauce Moolah start to hate 6ix9ine for basically betraying them, leading them to get back at 6ix9ine by trademarking his original name, Tekashi 6ix9ine. Overall, causing 6ix9ine to shorten his name to just 6ix9ine and split all connections with his former friends. Luckily for him, his former friends never exposed 6ix9ine for his allegations and just cut all ties with him. Now, 6ix9ine needed a way for him to get back on track and find a clear path for his career to follow. This is when he had a trick up his sleeve as he started to befriend fellow Ohio rapper Trippie Redd. One day, the two would head to the studio and develop their hit track Pulse 1469. The song evidently dropped on April 27, 2017, and it was an instant hit with the music video acquiring 206 million views. However, Trippie didn't know 6ix9ine's strange antics and was left in the dark on how he was being used. See, the two would get to know each other due to the fact they were a part of the same gang. But in 6ix9ine's case, we would soon find out that he was merely portraying an image. This is something we're going to delve more upon later down the line. Nevertheless, Trippie and 6ix9ine would have a falling out after 6ix9ine started pulling shady maneuvers on Trippie by having his guys attack him. Trippie and his friends eventually won the tussle and discovered that 6ix9ine and his goons aren't actual Bloods. Trippie Redd would actually go on live to elaborate on the whole altercation.
This is a hood doing some real weird. I get into the hotel and it's a nigga next to him, bro. And the nigga stole on me and hit me in my mouth. Because this is the only thing that happened to Trippie Redd, bro. The nigga hit me one time, bro. And then my niggas beat their ass. And you will not put hands to me, my nigga. Stop acting like you really about this life, bro.
Following this, 6ix9ine still needed a huge hit since now he's on his own. He ruined both relationships with people that were aiding him in his success. Nonetheless, at this point in time, his only big track was a feature that he did for another artist. In order for him to make it big, he needed to lock in and drop a song that would utterly explode him into the mainstream. This is when he decided to drop his hit song, Gummo, alongside a music video in October 2017. This single performed extremely well, as the music video pulled over 450 million views and the song itself has over 312 million streams on Spotify. Within the music video, 6ix9ine would be depicted in the streets of New York being surrounded by his clique, the 9 Trey Bloods. This song ultimately pushed his career into new heights as he quickly became a mainstream artist that many thought was a real gangster. However, this gangster persona was fully manufactured as he kept repping the color red, which was a color that was heavily associated with the Bloods. But to 6ix9ine, this wasn't enough, as he believed that he needed to legitimize himself as a Blood for people to take him seriously as a real gangster, even though at the end of the day, he wasn't. This is when he came into contact with 2 members from the 9 Trey Bloods, which was a crew of Bloods that came out of New York. The 2 people he met were named Secco Billy and Snow Billy. Although these 2 clearly knew that 6ix9ine wasn't really about it, they still decided to add him to the gang as they saw the potential of making money through him. This is because they would ask to take a cut of 6ix9ine's earnings, just so he could be an official 9 Trey Blood. To which they went along with this idea when 6ix9ine told them he wanted to have members from their clique to be in his music video for Gummo. So basically, Secco and Snow made 6ix9ine an official Blood member. Then 6ix9ine shot the music video for his hit song, which contained him being surrounded by a bunch of Bloods. After the song blew up, Secco and Snow Billy would get hyped since they were receiving a portion of the money from the popularity of the track. So it became evident that the partnership between 6ix9ine and the 9 Trey Bloods was severely successful, which is why it only made sense for both parties to continuously work together moving forward. This is when the 9 Trey Bloods introduced 6ix9ine to their leader, Shotty. Unlike 6ix9ine, Shotty was a real gangster as he performed many illegal activities. Shotty knew that his clique needed to keep working with 6ix9ine. This is when he offered 6ix9ine a deal of allowing 6ix9ine to keep being seen with the 9 Trey Bloods as it aids his image of a gangster. 6ix9ine would also receive protection from them as well. In return, 6ix9ine would let Shotty become his manager and Shotty would take a cut of his earnings. To 6ix9ine, this sounded like a great offer and he actually took the deal. This deal turned out to be one of the best decisions both parties have ever made, as after taking the deal, 6ix9ine went on to drop hit after hit after hit with his next few tracks, each of them charting on the Billboard Hot 100 along with him earning multiple RIAA plaques. This made the 9 Trey Bloods extremely happy as they were making tons of money off of 6ix9ine. They eventually started to call their new crew Treyway later on as 6ix9ine kept getting bigger. Nevertheless, this is only one end of the deal, and 6ix9ine kept his word with his end. The other end of the agreement is protecting 6ix9ine at all costs, no matter what. And, unfortunately for them, 6ix9ine is a known internet troll who messes with his enemies, resulting in the 9 Trey Bloods to continuously protect 6ix9ine in multiple scenarios. However, this is where it slowly started to become apparent that 6ix9ine isn't a real gangster, as he kept getting into issues with his ops and never did anything for himself. For example, during his beef with Chicago rapper Chief Keef, he pulled up to his hood and recorded a video threatening Keef to run on him. Ironically, a security guard managed to capture security footage of 6ix9ine during this exact moment and revealed that he was only at his block for about 30 seconds before ultimately leaving, fully showing that 6ix9ine isn't really tough and is merely portraying an image. Funnily enough, during an interview with Hot 97, 6ix9ine would actually reveal that he was nervous being there and that he didn't want to risk his life.
Cause now we saw the surveillance video. He was there for like 30 seconds.
Nah, it was actually like 15. I'ma sit there and entertain y'all, but I'm not gonna sit there and for y'all. That's not
So pretty much, 6ix9ine was clip farming the whole beef and didn't actually want to have issues with Keef. Now, as I mentioned before, this is only one time in which this was the case, but there have been multiple other cases to which he did this, as he would constantly troll people that he hated just for the clout he'd receive. And well, 6ix9ine felt like he was untouchable due to the fact that he had the 9 Trey Bloods by his side. With their protection, he could easily troll anyone he wants and entertain his fans, truly building up his career through his antics and music. But as we all know, things would slowly start crashing down as a conflict between the 9 Trey Bloods and 6ix9ine started to immerse. It all started with 6ix9ine putting the 9 Trey Bloods on the map as he was seen as kind of a poster boy for them. Since his music was blowing up, he'd always be around them, and that he was performing crazy stunts trying to defend them. So, in a way, 6ix9ine was really promoting the 9 Trey Bloods. However, these promotions would ultimately backfire on them, as it came out that the police had been keeping an eye on the gang for several years. This is because the 9 Trey Bloods are known for being about it and committing multiple crimes, some even being caught on camera. So seeing 6ix9ine around the gang helped the police gather enough evidence to arrest 5 9 Trey Blood members, including 6ix9ine. They were all arrested for racketeering charges and weapon charges on November 18th, 2018. Since the feds had enough evidence to go after these 5 members, a trial would be able to commence. But since the 9 Trey Bloods were under fire, this would be the moment where 6ix9ine could show the world that he is in fact a real gangster. All he had to do was deny everything and keep his mouth shut. However, this wasn't the case, as 6ix9ine was quick to plead not guilty and snitch on all the members that were involved with the case, ultimately showing the world that he was indeed a fake gangster, as he put people like Shotty in jail for life after he helped them get to where he is today. So basically, 6ix9ine snitching helped the cops finally put the 9 Trey Bloods in jail, as they have been aiming to take them down for several years. Due to him snitching, he was able to get reduced charges while everyone else got an increased amount of charges, causing everyone who was involved to receive a long sentence, while 6ix9ine would be able to get out early since the snitching deducted 2 years of his sentence. Crazily enough, 6ix9ine would get out even earlier than that because of the pandemic that was happening throughout 2020. 6ix9ine snitching on his former clique shook the entire world, as every artist within the game began turning on 6ix9ine, calling him out for his fake gangster activities, having numerous artists call him a snitch or a rat. Knowing this, you'd think that once he was freed, no one would care about his release. However, this wasn't the case, as once he was released, he went on Instagram Live and amassed 2 million live concurrent viewers, which at the time was a world record. He swiftly dropped a new track after this called Gooba and immediately went viral, with it going #1 on Billboard. The music video gained over 885 million views, amassed over 483 million streams on Spotify, and earned him an RIAA Platinum plaque. Shortly after, he released another song titled Trolls, featuring Nicki Minaj, which also received almost 500 million views on YouTube and 173 million streams on Spotify. It also easily went #1 on Billboard and got an RIAA Platinum plaque. So by now, he once more was on top of the game, with everyone having their eyes being laid upon him. 6ix9ine would also continue with his insane antics by trolling everyone online, saying that no one is ever going to touch him, especially after he snitched. Well, all this trolling eventually caught up to him when he decided to pull up to an LA Fitness to work out by himself. This is when a group of individuals pulled up on the rapper to show them real gangster activities, ultimately showing the world the phoniness behind his image, as people actually pulled up to test him and he portrayed his true self by losing the battle. This caused everyone to care less about 6ix9ine, since at this point his career has become pointless. The spotlight shunned away from him since the main gimmick behind his career was proven to be false for good, causing the general public to not mess with him anymore. Not only this, many claimed that his music wasn't any good to begin with, so the longevity of his career drastically decreased. This can be seen when he dropped the full-length project called Tattletales after his prison release, as the project flopped, with it only selling 53,000 units first week and landed on the 4th spot on Billboard. Now, these are good numbers, but when compared to his projected sales, which was 150,000 first week, people immediately start to clown the rapper for how poorly the album performed. Clearly, he has lost his hip-hop audience, as people didn't really care for his music anymore. So he needed to tap into a new lane to get people talking about his name again. This is when he started to release Spanish music so he could earn the spotlight within the Latin genre. This would be a genius move too, since 6ix9ine has dropped Spanish music in the past, to which those songs ended up blowing up as well. So dropping more Spanish songs can only lead to more success, to which it did, since the song Bori earned him over 17 million streams. He quickly followed this up with an entire Spanish project that pulled decent numbers. Nevertheless, 6ix9ine then decided to return to the music he used to make, and no one seemed to care for it, as the music wasn't really great and pulled in his worst numbers to date. Now, within the modern day, 6ix9ine has become completely irrelevant as a rapper. As a Latin artist, he still gains some relevance, but he still isn't as big compared to other Latin artists. Nowadays, 6ix9ine keeps to himself as he does not perform any of the insane stunts as he used to back in the day. His career doesn't seem to be increasing at a rapid rate, since no one truly cares what he does anymore. By having his career rely on his fake gangster persona, he caused his own downfall once it was revealed that he will never be about that life. So hopefully he can keep his head afloat and focus on what brings in numbers. Maybe one day he'll produce another hit that could take him to new heights once again. But who knows, since he just recently bailed out of jail after receiving domestic violence charges. As we can see throughout each of these fake gangsters' careers, they all have earned the spotlight at one point in time. Sadly, they all couldn't keep their careers afloat by only utilizing their image. As the gimmick eventually got old, and each of them has slowly started fading away from the spotlight. Although some are more popular than others within the present day, the moments where they were at the top will never be forgotten. But if you're an artist trying to make it big, don't utilize a gimmick and just stay true to yourself.